What's up everyone, Scott here from Chernobyl Studios, and today I would like to discuss how you can take basically a single vocal track, for example if you get a client, or you can only do a single vocal track, and how you can take that single vocal track that's going to sound itty bitty 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 when you put it in the mix and make it sound huge. Alright, so what I have here is I have a black metal mix for a real life client that I'm working on right now, and I have his permission to use this song for this video. He delivered me a single vocal track. That's just a single vocal track. That's it. It's been recorded quite nicely. It's not clipping. It's pretty even, so that was very nice. But when you have an instrument, when you have bass guitars, and then in this case we did a bunch of orchestral arrangement, or I should say, I did. The vocals go bye-bye really quick. So let's discuss how we can, solve this issue, right? Alright, so if we solo the original track that he sent me, now this is going to sound a little weird, okay? Extreme vocals always sound a bit goofy, soloed on their own, alright? You just have to get over that. So this is what was delivered to me.
At night, the man retreats, the midnight form, at last is will.
Okay, so everything, level-wise, we're good to go. But obviously, the vocals are a bit roomy. There was a reflection in there, so not perfect by any standards. But this is black metal. Who cares? We don't need to have it perfect at all, anyway. All right. So this is what we started with.
At night.
Right, and this is what it sounds like in the mix.
At night, the man retreats, the midnight form, at last is will. A starving wolf, no sense of terror, a heroin's cry, and blazing eyes.
All right, and when the mix gets a bit more dense, the vocals are still cutting through.
Severed from their flesh, their souls ripped away, passing to their graves by the man cursed by night.
So how can you go from that one itty bitty little track that has a few minor issues and then turn it into something like that, big, atmospheric, and all that good nonsense? So we're going to talk about that right now. So the first thing really to solve this issue is that you have one track. So you need to make duplicates of that track. Now obviously if you just duplicate vocals, it's kind of going to be the same theory as if you just tried to duplicate a guitar track, right? You can duplicate and duplicate and duplicate, but the audio information is the same, and it'll be like right down the middle no matter what you do anyway. So it's all about creating differences, okay? So the first thing you really need to do here, obviously, is you need to get rid of all the issues that are present in the guitars. All right, so there's a huge high presence bump here. There's a big room frequency. All right, and so you want to take care of those problems first, because you don't want to compound those issues by, for example, throwing a compressor on it right away, because then you're just going to compress and you'll have that meter working on those exaggerated frequencies, and then the problems gets bigger. So you want to do what you can first to get the vocals more or less cleaned up. So we're pretty clean there. Now when we get into the verses and stuff like that.
At night, the man retreats, the midnight form, at last is will.
So we obviously had to do some de-essing. That's just a simple matter of throwing on the de-esser, finding basically the range where most of the nastiness is, and bringing it down a little bit.
At night, the man retreats.
Usually around 3 to 6. If you do a little bit more than that, it's going to sound like how I do every day with a lisp, and it's not going to be pleasant, or you're not going to be able to hear what the guy's saying, even though you really can't in black metal anyway. That's besides the point. But anyway, it's just you're going to introduce a lisp into the vocal line, and that's not what you want to do. So you just need to do just enough de-essing to get rid of that extra harshness in the vocal that's kind of like ear piercing you a little bit. Okay. After that, compression. Okay, now the FG2A is a great compressor to use, and this is where I really need to take a moment and I need to tell you guys that I learned a lot of things about compression and reverb and EQ by following Adam Steele's basics course on ProMix Academy. I am not above learning new things every day. I'm always learning, and Adam Steele is like a freaking technician when it comes to all the technical sides of plugins and knowledge. So I'm going to leave a link to that down below. It is an affiliate link, just full disclosure. If you want to learn why this is a great compressor for vocals and what compressor to use on whatever else, just go get that. He goes into it way more in depth than I ever could, than I ever could, especially in this video. So again, link to that is in below, and we'll go with there. So we want to compress, right? So this is what we get.
At night, the matted trees, the midnight form, at last is well.
So as you can hear, we're just basically evening out the vocals that much more. When it comes to extreme vocals like this, you know, we're not singing, we're not doing anything classical, we're not trying to move the emotions of our listener with our voice. We want just brutality, we want it in your face, and we want to even it out as much as possible, right? And that's what this compressor is doing. And I'm doing about 7 to 10 dB gain reduction, you know, pretty average, nothing crazy.
At night, the matted trees.
So if we compare to what we have now to what we had,
At night, the matted trees, the midnight form.
we've cleaned out that room sound, we've evened everything out here, and we have the vocals much more pleasing to listen to, as pleasing as extreme vocals could be, you know, whatever. That's that. Now, if we put this into the mix, it's not going to do much. It's one track amongst orchestral tracks, bass guitars, and drums. So the first thing that I did was I duplicated that track. It's exactly the same, but the extra wrinkle that I did was I added the Microshift. Now the Microshift is a really cool plugin that basically employs a number of different techniques to help make the vocals sound wider. So you can have delay, stereo widening, and there's actually a little bit of pitch shifting, which is exactly what I wanted to use Microshift for. So we have this soloed, and we listen to just this.
At night, the matted trees.
The vocals have been pushed out, right? And we hear a fluctuation of the pitch of the vocal, right? Now, if we put that in with the regular vocals,
At night, the matted trees, the midnight form, at last is well.
all right, we're already starting to make the vocals wider, sound bigger. Now, this is something that you basically want to mix in. As you can see, the fader is pretty well pulled down here. I'm just mixing it in there. I don't want to make it too obvious and too exaggerated, right? Now, the last thing is, it sounded pretty good, right?
At night, the matted.
Not bad, but there can be some more attitude here. And the client actually asked me if I could put maybe even some more distortion in there to make the vocal sound a bit, you know, less clean, more shitty, you know, in a good way, right? And the idea dawned on me, like, you know, maybe we could use distortion from an amp simulator, right? So the thing I did here is I kept this EQ here, which is from the original track, and I actually have an instance, if we can open it up here, I have an instance of Nambrini Audio MRH 810, all right? The only thing I've done here is the cabinet loader is disabled, so I have maximum distortion, maximum shittiness.
At night, the matted trees, the midnight form, at last is well.
All right, so we have a lot of aggression and a lot of attitude put into these vocals. Now, when we put the 3 tracks together, you know, like I said, we get that result. Now, that's not the end of it, right? You may have noticed that I've accidentally had the effects channel here with all the reverbs and stuff. Reverb and delay is a very important part, you know, black metal specifically, but in vocals, you know, in general, right? And if we take the vocals here and I solo these, now we should have all of the effects running on these at the same time. I actually have a number of different reverbs and delays, and I even have a big delay which I'm automating. You know, this is big opening, should be some big epic opening, right? And just let the vocals go on forever. Now, if we move on here and we listen to the vocals, you know, as we go on through the song.
At night, the man retreats, the midnight form, at last is will.
You might be thinking, yeah, Scott, listen, man, that is a truckload of reverb and delay. Don't you think it's a bit much? Well, let's listen to this in the full mix.
At night, the man retreats, the midnight form, at last is will.
You barely even hear it. See, that's the thing about frequency masking, and just a side note here, that is why the professionals and anyone who ever, you know, mixes for a living or does this even part-time will start to understand that frequency masking is a real thing. So if in solo, if you were to set the delay and the reverb levels in solo mode, you would have a result that would sound good. And then you put it in the mix, the vocals would just go whoop, they would shrink right up. All right. So all these extra delay and reverbs literally are getting eaten by all the other instruments that are happening in the song, but the overall result is amazing. See, you can just hear how the vocals are fading out here, and as I'm automating these down. But you kind of make use of that psychoacoustic trick, right? You heard the delay, you heard how big these vocals were, and it's just our brain fills it in from there on out. But there are, you know, reverb and delay on these vocal tracks, and not a little bit, right? But that's what helps create the atmosphere, you know, in black metal and such like that. But anyway, I really just wanted to make this video to show you guys, excuse me, how even with just one single track and just doing a couple simple things like adding some pitch shifting, some stereo widening with Microshift, which I highly recommend that you get, and then running it through an amp simulator to add extra distortion and blending all that together, and then just using basic plate, room, and delay plugins, which, by the way, again, I've learned all of these things from Adam. These are not my own ideas. Once again, link below in the description to learn about all that stuff. You can really make your mix sound bigger and become alive and live and breathe and just become an overall amazing experience. So once again, let's just find a little part here. Let's go to the ending, the big old opus, the ending of the song.
Severed from their flesh, their soul ripped away, fastened to their graves by the man cursed by night.
All right, thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit like and subscribe. And don't forget, I am doing weekly live mixing now, usually on Saturday around 3 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central European time. Still got to get those times memorized. Generally, I'm just doing live mixing, either of clients or personal projects or stuff that I'm doing. But really, the best thing about that is you can just chat and interact with me live in real time. I love to answer questions. I love to help out. So definitely, you know, if you're not subscribed to my email list, I always send an email out, and I also always let people know what I'm going to stream, whether you're on my Facebook or on my email list, stuff like that. So definitely pop in, say hello, and we'd love to see you there. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.